buy high, sell low.
All right. Go on. Assalamu alaikum and welcome to the Mad Bumbles podcast. My name is Sim. Along with me are my co-hosts Sheikh Amir, Assalamu alaikum, Maheen, the host of Sultans and Sneakers podcast, and the host of Muzzy Buzz,
Yo.
Mort. How y'all doing? Guys, make sure to check out meccabooks.com. New sponsor. This episode is brought to you by them. Sheikh, what's your favorite book off of meccabooks.com?
Favorite book off of I'm actually really wanting to get the what was the 12 volume set?
Yeah. The exemplars.
Exemplars. That's what it was. I'm really contemplating getting that book, man.
Right.
Because I want something like that in English. For my kids too, you know?
Do you have a specific Sirah book that you could recommend?
My favorite always go to Salabi's, the beloved prophet, him and his Abu Bakr series and Umar. If you want a compendium, man, you can't go wrong with Muhammad Ali Salabi's book of Sirah. Not just Sirah of Rasulullah, but it's just so... He has a section, like he kind of adopts also like what Sheikh Ramadan al-Bouti did with Fiqh Sirah. You have a glimpse of the Sirah and the benefits you derive from it. He has some fiqh things that you extrapolate from it. It's a one-stop shop, man. Hadith, filled with hadith.
Well,
Beautiful.
Salabi's book isn't on Mecca Books.
It's not on Mecca Books. It's not on.
Yeah.
You just asked me any Sirah book.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, my favorite Sirah is obviously Anwar al-Awlaqi's Sirah.
It is.
It's funny because,
baby.
you know, people mention... you know, it was a post this week on Facebook. Ustad Moinul Abu Hamza put a post about like how Anwar al-Awlaqi's Sirah he thought was like a lot better than Yasser Qadi's. And I haven't listened to Yasser Qadi's, but I think part of the thing is Yasser Qadi did like 4 or 5 years of Sirah. It was like a ton, like more content, right?
Over 100, yeah.
But with Anwar al-Awlaqi's, I think it was just easy to, 16 CDs. It's easy to digest.
Yeah. Is this a thing now? Is it cool to start
Yeah.
mentioning his name on there and on?
I don't see why not. It's not like we're supportive of his criminal actions.
Yeah, I will be probably on Quad S right after this podcast.
No, it's fine. I mean,
So I have an unnamed individual that is in love with that Sirah, like many people are. So he actually keeps it old school, bro. He has a burnt CD with MP3s, bro, and he pops it in his car, bro, and he just listens to it all the time whenever he feels like it.
Yeah.
Quickly mind boost for him.
I think you can still get his CDs, right? They're
I don't think
in
you can-
MP3 format.
Kalamullah.com has everything.
They used to, but I don't think they have them anymore.
Kalamullah still has it?
I think it's down.
Really? They took
Yeah.
it down?
It's on and off.
Well, because you had the Mecca series, the Mecca part, and then the Medina series, right?
Just the whole thing was brilliant, dude. And you know what it is? It's not just Yasser Qadi and other Sirahs might have more detail,
It's a different type of detail, yeah.
but his was so relatable because he took events and then made it something you can digest in a current form you can understand, right? And then on top of that, she was just a charismatic speaker. So it was just something easy on the ears, right? Like
Very
you could,
easy, yeah.
Well, it's not just that. There's a quality in, and not to take anything away from. One thing I don't like about it is like comparing people's works because
Yeah.
because Yasser Qadi's intent was different with his podcast, with his explanation of the Sirah, but Anwar al-Awlaqi's explanation of the Sirah had to do more with you as a Muslim living in the West, and it was really more interactive. The intention was to give the Muslims the ability to interact with the lives of the prophets. He had the lives of the prophet set that he did, which is an amazing set in itself. And then he did the Sirah of the Prophet. But the Sirah of the Prophet with Anwar al-Awlaqi really helped Muslims, young Muslims all across the West, really interact with the life of the Prophet and apply situations that the Prophet experienced to their own lives, And I think that kind of set like a foundation for those who grew up with that. That set like a foundation of so many different experiences that they've experienced as getting older and experiencing all these different events. They were able to identify or find some kind of framework in how to deal with many of those situations.
Sam, you know what else it did, man? It made people realize, like, oh, this is actually the Sirah. That's what happened.
Yeah.
It was a moment like, okay, this is what, when I was being told about Sirah, this is what it was all along.
Yeah.
That's what it was. Also, you had multiple aha moments, but once you saw the Sira, you're like, dude, I didn't know the Sira was like this.
Yeah.
This is what it's wanting from me, right? So I think that's why it became a danger when he made his shift and he was getting a following in the other shift he made.
Yeah.
That's where I think that
Yeah.
the U.S. government had to execute him because of the following that he had.
True.
Citizen, by the way, American citizen, by the way,
And
never
his son,
tried.
Abdurrahman,
Yeah, and his daughter.
16-year-old
And
son.
his daughter.
Yeah, later on.
Did they end up? By the way, I heard some people say that he got a lot of inspiration from Tariq Suwaidan's Sira. That was in Arabic only. Are you familiar with Tariq Suwaidan's
Yeah,
Sira?
I don't know. I'm
I've
familiar. I don't know if
heard
it
that.
was.
I've heard Tariq
I haven't
Suwaidan's.
heard
Yeah,
his inspiration.
yeah, it was similar, but not, I still think he had his own research.
Tariq Sudan is very different.
I think
too. Yeah.
one of the people that he referenced was some shuyukh that he used to follow, and they were in Yemen. They are a group called the Ahdal family. He was close to them, and they had written and given some speeches and talks about the Sira, and I think he derived a lot from them too.
Yeah, and he openly says what sources he used.
Yeah,
Right.
and he was in Darul Iman
Yeah.
in Sana'a for a little while too. So I think he drew from some of them over there too.
One of the things I really found incredible about AAA's Sira was that it. Remember on the last episode I was talking about this quality among Muslims in the West that's really missing from the greater Muslim world. Like it's more almost like it's not so tied to their spirit. There's like a quality about the Muslims in the West that is really missing, or some kind of characteristic that is embodies like a Islamic culture, you know. And Anwar al-Awlaqi's Sira really captures that Muslim culture, that passion, you know, the pasión.
Yeah, the
Remember
passion, but like
Especially la
that
pasión.
self-value, like that value of like, man, we're actually the greatest nation. Like you understand it. Like yeah, and there's nothing arrogant about that. It's just a fact.
You know,
It's
one
an
thing he
objective
said-
truth that Allah's ummah is the best ummah. Muhammad's ummah is the greatest ummah. It's an objective truth.
I remember one thing he
exactly. Oh
said in the Sirah. He says, "There's something so special about this ummah. We're the only ummah in the world that when we fall down, we can get up running."
Yeah.
Yeah. No, and that's 100%. That in itself, this Muslim superiority that many of the scholars from back home have, is not on display here because we are so fearful of how people may perceive us and give off this kind of projection that Muslims think that they're better than other people. Well, we do, but we don't think in an arrogant way. We don't think that our lives are we're born with this amazing quality about ourselves. It's because of our worship towards God. It's because
Exactly.
it's not because
It's not us.
it's not us. It's not like the individual.
Yeah.
It's because we're part of this collective
Of what we recognize to be true.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I'm gonna take a slight different take on that. I'm gonna say, no, me as an individual, I'm better than a kafir.
Yeah, because of your deen.
Yeah, because
But
of
it's
la
not-
ilaha illallah.
Yeah, but it's not because of
It's not because of your
wealth
skin
or
and your
your skin or where
meat
you're
and your
from.
No, it's not the
bones.
skin, but
It's
I'm
the
saying,
belief that you have.
right? But
The
what I'm
objective truth that's in your heart.
so I agree, but what I'm saying though is that I don't think a Muslim should shy away from saying that Muslims are superior to non-Muslims.
No, of course.
Right? Yeah, and the same way, because technically speaking, the people that are going to have problem with this are people who they themselves have this belief. Let's primarily look at, for example, even the Christians and the Jews, they believe that the Yahud were chosen people. They were chosen. God chose them to receive revelation. God chose Jesus to come onto them, to the lost sheep of Israel. They believe in superiority by God's chosen people, by virtue of being God's chosen. The same way, but we don't say God's chosen. We say by the salvation of La ilaha illallah is what makes us superior to anyone. And that's why some people get upset when I say the worst Muslim is better than the best kafir.
Yeah, no, you're right. No, but you know what? One thing when you mentioned about the scholars back home and what we have here is, it's what we have to, the system in which we have to operate from, is we believe as Muslims the reason why we're able to practice Islam is because we have a right to religion and a right to belief, right? So that puts us in a position that we have to say that everyone's entitled to their opinion of their belief, which in turn makes it very difficult for a Muslim to say that Islam is a fact, Islam is objective truth. It's very, it's not politically correct. It's not PC to say that, no, Islam is a fact. Islam is objective truth and it's the best. it makes it very difficult for a Muslim to say that because they're operating out of the system of everyone has a right to their opinion. We're all entitled to our opinions, right?
Yeah.
So I think that makes it very difficult. But for Muslims, we have to understand it's an objective truth. It's a fact. There's nothing wavering our belief in that.
But this is also, it's not like where we're coming up with this on our own. This is demonstrated clearly time and time and again after the Sahaba, when they went off to many different lands, whether it was Persia or the Romans or Abyssinia. They clearly stood upright. They said, we have the superior message.
Yes.
Come and bow. You're talking to a king as, dressed in like a shepherd's outfit, You're the audacity to say that to kings of various regions all around Arabia,
Yeah.
while you're dressed in like tattered clothing, telling them that we have the superior form of life and come and join our message.
Yeah.
You're
right.
Somebody,
that's what we don't have today.
somebody had left a comment saying that AAA's Mecca series was different than his Medini series, and his Medini series was dark because he changed. I would argue differently. I would say actually that the Mecca period was a period before the Sharia was complete, and before the hukum came on what to do with certain people, and the command to fight, and the attitude. Right, these things changed. So even because some of them said this. Actually, this is some of the arguments that the kuffar will make. They say that when Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam was in Mecca, he was tolerant. When he went to Medina, he was intolerant. According to them, we don't believe this. Waliyadu billah. But the reality is that Islam came to reign superior over everything. The ayahs came down that Islam is the only religion.
There was no other way. It never was any other way.
So many ayat that came like this. The only deen Allah accepts is the religion of Islam. And the command came on how to deal with combatants. The command came to fight. The command came to take, what to do with prisoners of war. So naturally, these are things. So who's responsible for this dark period, quote unquote dark? It's actually the enemies of Islam that were persecuting the Muslims. So when the Muslim response, don't buy this narrative that it was a dark period. No, it was the Muslim defending himself and making sure that La ilaha illallah reigns supreme.
Yeah, it was either fight or be killed. That's what it was.
And this is what it was. Yeah. And also, the thing is that I think some people may think it's dark because the references he makes to, the big J and all that stuff that's happening at that time. But that was just the reality. Right, and maybe, and I'm not saying you have to agree with every single opinion he has about how to translate that to today's climate, but there's no doubt that people feel that way, especially in certain parts of the world where they see this as the only option for them. Like if you were to talk to a person in Yemen or in Syria or in Iraq or places like this or Libya or whatever it may be, right? When their backs are up against the wall, Islam has a solution for that, right? And don't be misled by the media and people to make you feel bad and say, no, that's something dark. It's actually not dark. This is something Allah honored us with. Yeah. That we're in. Allah says you may not like it.
Yeah.
Right? You may not like a thing which is prescribed for you.
Yeah.
And you may hate a thing which is, right? These are things that we know. It's not our nature to go out and want to shed blood and to kill. This is exact opposite of what we generally, and this is why it was tough for some of them to deal with this. Because when the command came, this was something completely opposite of what they were kind of under feeling, right? That, we're just going to tolerate and let Allah deal with everything. But Allah says, no, now it's time. We've given you permission. And this is part of having time to tawakkul in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.
Yeah.
You trust that Allah's judgment is correct and you trust that His command for you is correct and that He will bring His support when He wants.
Yeah, imagine what, like you had to, one thing that AAA mentioned, which made me just like read a whole lot about the seerah, is when the tabi'een said to the Sahaba, they said, if Rasulullah was living amongst us, we would never let his feet even touch the ground. We'd be carrying him on our shoulders the whole time.
Allahu Akbar.
But the Sahaba said, you have no idea what we were living. We had to fight our own fathers and our brothers, right? For this deen. And look at Abu Bakr radiallahu anh, right? I don't know if you guys remember the incident, but a conversation he had with his son. Yeah, when he was having a conversation with his son. His son said that, when I was in that war, I was trying to avoid you because I didn't want to meet you. And he said, well,
he said, I saw you, but I avoided you.
Yeah, I saw you, but I avoided you. But what could I say? He said, if I saw you,
I would have killed you.
I would have killed you.
Allahu Akbar.
Right? And that's Abu Bakr, right?
And Umar bin Khattab killed his uncle.
Yeah. So you have to understand, look, you mentioned something about the Mecca and Madani, and then I think that'll clarify a lot of things. The reason why when you open the Quran, you see like Mecca surahs and Madani surahs, the first 13 years of Rasulullah's prophethood, before the Hijrah is the differentiating factor of what is considered a Mecca or Madani surah. The Mecca surahs have a certain theme, and the Madani surahs after the Hijrah have a certain amount of themes and certain types of themes. The themes for the first 13 years of Muhammad's prophethood was number one, strengthening the Aqidah, the belief in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, right? Majority of the verses have to do with Aqidah and those things that feed into supporting the Aqidah. There's only a few things that had to do with fiqh in Mecca. One was, for instance, the hurma, what made it haram of burying the daughters, tipping the scales. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talks about those things. Some moral issues and some matters of economics as far as cheating is concerned in Mecca. But to some people, Medina may seem dark is because that's when the barrage of rulings came down. Like imagine the 5 daily prayers were not prescribed in Mecca. They were prescribed in Medina, and the wudu, the nuances. And with that came jihad. How we deal with foreign policy, how we deal with, like, the fact that Muhammad ﷺ made hijrah, when he made hijrah going to establish Islam in Medina, that became an act of war. They were in war now. They were in war. So imagine what Muhammad said, what are you going to say this? This is Muhammad ﷺ. He told the people of what started Battle of Badr, he told the Muslims and said, Abu Sufyan's caravan is carrying wealth from Sham to Mecca. Go raid the caravan. That's your wealth. Right? He told them, go raid that caravan. Take everything from it, whatever you can from it. Yeah. But Abu Sufyan found out about that and he changed course when the Muslims already were on the way to the Battle of Badr. Right? To take that. So and they didn't go prepared for war. They just went to raid the caravan because they were in a state of war right now.
And actually, the reason also for that, if you look at traditional, is because when they were forced out of Mecca as fugitives, all of their property was confiscated.
Yep.
All of it was
back home.
seized. So they were trying to recuperate what was stolen from them originally.
Yes.
Because the Quraysh refused to give what was theirs. They
Yes.
actually forced them out under that, saying that they thought that by shunning them out, that they're going to be so desperate because they're going to be in a desolate area that they're going to have to come back and renounce what they believed in. So they possessed they took all their possessions, they held at ransom, and they were basically left to go out.
Yeah.
And so in that state of not having anything from when you had all your belongings there, this was a retaliation of that initial aggression to them.
Yes. And the reason why I mention this is if somebody says that it's dark, it's because of the reality we live in. And this is, I mean, you have to hear this out clearly. Like everything that happened in Medina happened because Allah wanted it to happen. Rasulullah carried it out. If there were wars, we have to look at it like a knife, right? A knife should be used for certain things in good, but it can be used for something that's completely wrong also, right? The same way with war. Our paradigm even with war is a good war is what Allah says is a good war, and that becomes an act of worship. People don't like to hear that, but that's the reality of our seerah and our deen. There's war which is evil, and there's war which is allowed by what Allah has allowed it to be.
What is that ayah in the Quran where Allah tells them that because they were prohibited from shedding blood in the haram?
Yeah.
But Allah says what's worse than shedding blood in the haram?
What's worse than shedding blood?
The killing of a life unjustly, right?
Yeah, no. But I'm saying it because remember when they were commanded to enter Fath al-Mecca, right? But the shirk that was happening there, and
yes.
So Allah says the shirk is worse than
الفتنة أشد من القتل.
Yeah. So I mean that fitna is the shirk, and they're preventing them from worshiping Allah, right?
Yeah.
So he said even in that case, it was a shocker to them because you don't shed blood in the haram.
Yeah.
This was something known, and people would come to the haram and seek refuge and grab onto the Kaaba, and no one could kill them.
Yeah.
This was something known. Even when the Prophet entered Mecca in Fath al-Mecca, most people who feared their life, they went to the haram and they grabbed the haram.
Yeah.
There were only, I think, 11 or 7 people because of what they had done that were the rest of them were
court-martialed.
Yeah, exactly. The rest of them were.
And that's how we have to look at it. They were court-martialed.
Yeah.
Right?
So it's just what I guess what I'm saying ties into is that Allah has a wisdom, and He can supersede anything else. So if He says this is something just, then we don't question that. It's something. It's a command, right?
Yeah.
It's like I'm telling you what's right and what's wrong.
Whether you like it or don't like
Yeah.
it.
By the way, just before we shift gears here, to the people in the comments, listen, if you want an alim or a sheikh and you're saying all this stuff, we have our Allama, our Sheikh with us. This is who I give him bay'ah, bro. So if you don't like my Sheikh, then you can bugger off. Okay, this is the Sheikh that I follow.
It has nothing to do with it. If they
No,
actually
they're
read
saying you should
Islamic
get
history-
a-
yeah.
No, some guy was like,
they
you guys
retract-
have very surface level knowledge of this. You guys shouldn't be talking about this.
Okay, we're talking about
Message
basic
retracted.
seerah. First of all, we didn't delve deep into
The
anything. We're
message
talking about basic
retracted.
seerah.
It said,
Yeah, the fact that you think this is deep because of your ignorance.
No, don't even pay attention to that. But
Did-
what was
did
the
you-
reason why you
did-
bought
no,
it?
no,
You
the
bought this
reason
up for a reason.
I didn't do that.
Oh, okay.
The reason,
maybe.
guys, forget about the comments for a second.
The reason why you bought this up.
We
is
brought
what?
it up because of, many of us on this show, actually pretty much all of us, just hit 40 or have been 40 for a while. I wanted to know some of your thoughts because I know like 40 is a pivotal age, and we know we just talked about the Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, how he received the revelation at 40, right? Or was it 42?
40.
Yeah,
It's 40.
my ego, 42. I'm like, oh, of course.
It's 40. Yeah, no.
No,
But it's you have to remember
But-
40 at the but
it's a pivotal age, right?
Yeah.
So go ahead, Shaq.
by way of lunar calendar, right? We have to remember by way of lunar calendar. A lot of us are. I'm probably what, like 42, 43 right now,
Yes.
and you're probably like 45, 46.
What's wrong with you, man?
No, I'm just saying. By lunar, we do the 40
Shit.
by the lunar.
Yeah, Shab.
Shit, why are you doing this to me?
But I'm saying is that
Yeah.
there's a lot of I firmly believe, as from what the scholars mention about the age of in the barakah and wisdom that comes with the age of prophethood. There's a lot of futuhat that occur with the believer, right? And they're able to see. There's a lot of changes that happen, right?
Yeah.
And I think one thing that really changed for me is I felt like I was able to see things better for what they are, and I was able to block out certain things that I invested. I'm talking about emotionally and, if you want to call it, spiritually, as with my community, to see that I have to work on other things other than just focusing my time with the community, right? Like I had to realize if I have to think about my family, I have to think a little bit about myself too, right? So one thing that I really came to grips with is, man, if I don't start, some people might be earning more money, right? But if you don't, it's really cool working for a community, but your community has to give back to you. And for a long time, you think,
Also, what do you mean by that? What do
what
you
it means
mean
is that you want to really support your community, but your community has to support you too, right? Ooh. And if you don't, you can do that for a long time, but it's only going to last for you can't last for too long where you're like, I don't care about them, I just have to do this for Allah. Of course you have to do it for Allah. But it takes wisdom to see that you may be neglecting your family because of the community. And that's one realization I came to, is that, I don't want to fall into that trap where you see a lot of scholars are teaching community, but their kids know nothing about the deen, right? Or they know, but they're not giving it that same effort. So one thing I said is there's two things I have to do. I have to start establishing myself monetarily, fi sabilillahi, for my family, not just for the community. And there's you have to learn how to become a no person too, right? Not just a yes man all the time, right? I really have a difficult time saying no to people.
Mashallah.
But with the companionship of Mort and a little bit of Mahin, you start learning how to say no to people, right?
Yeah.
And it's not easy in the beginning, but that's one thing I realized, man. In like the past year or two, I really started changing this figment of my imagination that was for a while, where no matter what community you're working with, you just have to do it no matter how wrong they do you.
Yeah.
You don't have to. There's other ways of working with the community than physically being there.
I especially struggle with saying no as well.
Yeah, I know.
When I was
Freaking, again, it was Sims all Sims dirty work. Guests want to come on the Mad Mom Looks, and like, I was like,
I'm like, Brian, can you say no to him, please?
It's like a bunch of runarounds. I'm like,
No, it's a struggle because I don't
it
know, and I go through a lot of like self analysis. Like I'm like, where is it in my like psyche? How did I pick up this terrible habit where I will agree to do something I'm not really comfortable with, or I don't like to let people down, people pleasing and stuff like that.
you would be really easy to rape.
Oh, that's
Lord.
what.
Jeez, guys, did we just go there?
Have you considered that?
This is how.
He meant rate, RATE. He's
I
a
mean,
5-star, yes.
This is how.
Anyways, my
Just say grape. You need a grape.
This is how we ended up getting married. We just couldn't say no to our wives. Like, all right, we'll marry. I'm just joking. I kid.
No, you don't. No, but I mean, I was thinking about this though. Like, I think there's a few things I probably learned. I think number one, as I got older, in my 40s, I'd say like three or four things. I think the first one primarily being is be lenient with the people. Because you tend to understand through trials and tribulations, you see things and you realize that everything is not so black and white.
Yeah.
That you have to try to understand what other people are not going through necessarily, but just be empathetic to it.
Yeah.
And this is probably more for me because I have a huge problem with empathy. Like I told Sam I took some like, some bullcrap online narcissist test for my work thing. And like they called me like a narcissist or a mild narcissist or whatever.
Wow.
But I have a problem with empathy in the sense that I am very methodical and logical, and if the logic doesn't add up, I don't care about your feelings.
Yeah.
Right? And so it took me some time to say that, you know what, even though I feel that way, you still have to be lenient, right? Because people don't all think the same way, and some people are built differently. And I would say the barakah, the amazing barakah of khidmah of your parents and sadaqah. Wallahi, if any of you are struggling in life,
Great advice.
anyone struggling with anything, getting married,
Great advice.
getting a job, coming closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, seeking blessings, make khidmah of your parents. If they're alive with them, wallahi, I tell you that you may think, and I know some of you are getting older, you have children and you have families, and it might be difficult to take on your parents because it's difficult, but I can guarantee you that it'll be difficult for you, but the barakah that you get when you take them on, you'll see doors open in ways that you don't know. Wallahi,
advice,
doors, and the same applies for sadaqah. With sadaqah, I can't tell you how many times in my own life where doors open, not just like a creak, I'm talking about blown open. I mean, I don't want to go into my life, but mashallah, you guys around here know I live good, alhamdulillah. And all of that is from the barakah of my parents and the barakah of sadaqah.
Yeah, that's what you gotta say. The dua of your mother, man.
Yeah, the dua of your parents is something irreplaceable.
Yeah.
Irreplaceable.
One thing I totally learned from you was sadaqah. Like, I would not have been as charitable as I would be right now if I didn't learn from you on how to just give freely without thinking too much about it. Because I would like overthink it. Like,
That's the advantage of having
like,
a friend. He said think a lot before he
I'm
does
like,
stuff.
does that person really need it? I could give my money to someone who deserves it more. And but I saw how Mort handled giving money without thinking about it, and I'm like, you know what? I'm going to take that goodness.
That's the advantage of being a person who doesn't overthink things, right? I overthink things.
Well, he actually, it's funny because Mort sometimes will, he'll play it off. He'll like use some excuse. He's like, remember when we went to Isna in Texas a few years back? We went to
Maybe he doesn't want you to say some friend.
Why not? I'll say a little bit. It's like 1 a.m, right? And we're having a late dinner. And there's like 10 people. Most of them, he doesn't even know these cats.
Yeah.
And he's like, I need to get some fresh air, man. I don't got time to wait for this bill. I'm just paying. He just like paid for everything so we could leave. Right? Because he was irritated. He's like, man, I gotta go. Right? And you think I was like that?
I think I was legitimately irritated that time.
You know what I'm saying? But like, I mean, but that's not a cheap bill, dude. That's you're not thinking twice.
Listen, here's the thing. Wallahi, I noticed that if you want success in life, Allah, this money all belongs to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.
Yeah, you're right.
He gives and he takes. If you're gonna give and he's gonna have to give you more to give. Right? It's just how I look at it.
Wow.
Right? It's just if it belongs to him, then he's gonna replenish it if you give it for the right reason. Right? I'm not saying don't enjoy your life. I enjoy too. MashaAllah, I enjoy my life. But I make sure I try to give as much as I do for myself, I do for others. Like some people will say, you know what? I'll give you a small example. It's a clothing drive, or they're gonna give old clothes. No, go and give some new clothes.
Yeah, bro.
How would you want if someone's giving you something? How would you feel if someone's giving you? So this is I learned this. I learned the barakah of your parents and sadaqah. And the third thing I learned, the final thing, is you don't need a lot of friends, but you need good friends that are not just for the fun that you do, but who are there to educate you and help you grow and help you not be stagnant. That can be in deen, it can be in dunya, but whatever you have to. And I say kahamil al-misk, like this is hadith about, the good companion is like the perfume smeller, and the one who's bad is like nafikh al-khir, like he's the one that he will get, like the coal, like the blacksmith, where basically the hadith says that the good companion, even if you don't it's like a must seller. Even if you don't buy something, by entering the store, you're gonna have some good aroma on you.
Yeah.
It's gonna carry off. And the bad company, even if you just go with him for a minute with the blacksmith, you're gonna be filled with dirt because it's just dirty. So you don't need a lot of friends. You don't need a lot of approval.
How many? What's too many? What do you think? In Ward's book, what's too
Honestly, I don't know about too many number, but I say if you get to my age and your friends are people you've known for 20 plus years, you need to drop them. You need to be with friends that you know 20 plus years at my age. I'm saying if you're younger, you should have maybe adjust that. But I'm saying like 15, 20 years, like, if you know them, and obviously there are exceptions to the rule, but generally speaking, I mean, you only need a close knit of friends that you know that in tough times and bad times, and they're going to give you the advice that is they're not pleasing your ears. They're going to tell you, hey, you're wrong.
That's
hey,
beautiful.
oh, this is what it is, right? You need that.
Well, one of the things, just to piggyback off of that, is you learn, at least in your 40s, that many of the people or relationships, quote unquote, friends that you thought you had, their friendship is directly related to the convenience you have to them, like your usefulness to them. You know what I'm saying? Like, if you end up being having problems or issues or things that maybe don't really line up with them or where they're going in life, they'll drop you. You know, right. and I think that's what separates many friendships from the core friends that you always have that are going to be with you no matter what. You know, I think many people don't realize that. They think they need to build these followings on Instagram or whatever social media thing, and that this will supplement or fill up that void in them of loneliness or whatever. Or some people might just be feeling lonely and they look at other people who have a wide network of friends and they're like, oh man, if I had that kind of a network, I could be somewhere or something. But they don't realize, like, look at the people that you have around you and see who you can foster a better relationship with, where you can solidify that bond. In the past, there would be like intermarriage between families and stuff that would solidify a bond, but nowadays it takes a little bit more creativity to build those relationships. It might not even be that creative, actually. It might just be looking out for each other, messaging them, saying, hey, how are you? Can I help you out with something? Just seeing how people are doing, just checking up on you. Hope everything's going well, blah, blah, blah. And that's it. Like that, allows the person on the other side, like, wow, that person just thought of me,
Yeah, totally.
Like we have friends that we met on our podcast. There's no way that they have any kind of social clout or anything, but we message them regularly. Like, hey, you, so-and-so, haven't heard from you in a while. Hope everything's okay, But this is not just like feeding into some kind of selfish need for attention, but it's also something as a Muslim you're taking care of your brother, seeing how they're doing. Like genuinely, that this person, especially the ones who don't have many friends around them, and they may be feeling lonely. You want to go a little extra and see how they're doing and follow up on them.
I think the final thing I'm going to say is the fourth one, the last one, is that don't be afraid to fail. Failure is growth.
Yeah, dude.
Because most of the time you're gonna fear things that you shouldn't even be fearing.
Yeah.
And as a result of these things, you end up growing. Because if you don't fail, you're not gonna have options.
That's true.
Right? So you need to fail in order to have options.
That's one of the reasons why a lot of people don't try things. They're afraid of failure.
Yeah.
I'm in that boat too, man.
I think it applies to everything. I think relationships, with business, with school, with career changes. You have to be able to it's a balance between what Allah has written for you and versus what you're doing for yourself, right? But you cannot you don't want to be in a position in your 40s, 50s, or 60s where you're like, I wish I would have done that.
Yeah.
I could have tried that. I should have done that, right? Because wallahi, the only enemy you have is yourself.
Yeah.
That's it.
You can fail, but you have got to learn how to pick yourself back up too.
Yeah.
We're not just saying go ahead and fail and like not learn anything. You got to learn from why you failed. Take the corrective actions. Let's just say make something simple. Making a goal to pray 5 times a day.
Yeah.
Okay, let's just say the following morning you start off bad, you just miss Fajr. All right, well, some people, oh, that was a loss. You know, I made that commitment yesterday, and well, there's the door right there.
Yeah,
How
you're
about
right.
you start from there?
Yeah.
You start from and then move faster, you know, and then maybe the next day you'll catch the budget, you know, and then maybe if you don't, well, why not? Well, maybe the next day you don't. You don't give up on that.
Yeah.
You start figuring out, well, where's that pattern?
Yeah.
Where's that broken link in my thought? Is it because I'm just sleeping late? Am I being lazy? Maybe I'm having a high carb diet where that's just causing me to
Eating too late at night.
eating too late at
Maybe
night.
I'm going to sleep late.
Yeah,
All of it. It's all in our
So
control.
there could be like you have to perform this self-analysis or psychoanalysis on yourself to figure out where the kinks are in the in the links.
Yeah.
You know, in your chain of thought. If you don't go through that, and you will be so surprised how many people go into their 50s and 60s, old people, like you think, you know, these people are wise people, and they don't ever go and do these self-analysis. This is
It's muhasabah.
one of the most surprising things you learn as you get older. You're like, oh crap, there's so many people in the world who are just consuming. They don't think about anything. They don't think about where they're headed, what their goals are, what their objectives are, where their ultimate destination is, what am I here for, what my purpose is. They haven't answered some of these foundational questions. They're just consumers.
Living and fuming.
They're like parasites.
Yeah,
You know, I mean, it sounds like a harsh word, but
it's true.
you're just feeding off of the world. You're not going to leave it in a better place. In fact, you probably leave it in a worse place because of your habitual consuming.
Yeah. You know what this reminds
you're
me
nothing.
of? That hadith, I mean, maybe you can remember it, but the hadith about muhasabah, where Umar bin Khattab says, hold yourself accountable before you are held accounted, or you are held accounted for. And that's kind of what it is. Like, you have to kind of check yourself and say that self-reflection and say, hey, what am I do? What are my goals? What am I doing to get them?
Right.
What
am
can
I
I
doing?
fix?
Yeah.
What's wrong with me? Like, and everybody has something wrong, right? If you can't come and say, hey, what's wrong with me? Then there's something wrong with you, right?
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
You know, you mentioned something on narcissism. Supposedly Sim is a narcissist.
Yeah.
But anyways,
Yeah,
go ahead,
narcissist.
Maheen. What was your post-40s reflections?
I just turned 40, man. I have nothing new to add. Nothing changed. It's only been like not even a year. Like, what are you talking about? Like,
Mine's
40s?
like, these shoes are damn expensive. That's what I learned. It's like,
One of the other things.
Maybe my thing is, yeah. Oh, I'm getting into. I think I bought my first pair of raw selvage denim.
Oh,
What?
nice.
Yeah.
oh,
Pair of what?
Raw selvage denim.
It's like
Raw salvage denim?
Maybe it's my wardrobe is evolving. That's about it.
it's high quality jeans, Chef.
Really?
So yeah, they're like they're basically jeans that are untreated. They're pure, like, you know, the indigo dye.
Yeah.
It's made of genuine indigo, whereas many jeans are that you see people
dye.
wearing, they're like artificial dyes and stuff that they used to make. But selvage jeans are like the high quality jeans that are made from actual indigo plants, and
Really?
they're pretty pricey.
you think they're worth it?
300s?
Yeah, we're on that.
Do
Yeah.
you think they're worth it, Maheen?
Yeah, I mean, I have to. They fit. I have to do the soak first. There's a whole process to it, right?
The soak has to loosen them up a little bit, right?
Well, no, you want to form them
Yeah, form
to
them,
your
right, yeah,
kind of
yeah,
yourself,
yeah.
right? And it's
Oh,
like,
they become a form fit.
Because you
You
know
know.
when they dye with indigo, it becomes hard, right? It hardens up, right? So it's kind of like, I mean, imagine like papaya or something. It's like hard,
and it's
right?
we're supposed to wear them in a little bit because it's gonna
Yeah.
take a lot. You're supposed to wear them a lot
So they're actually soft cloth.
to break.
They feel like cloth.
you know. And then this, so I got some advice that I called it a shop, and they were like, you should wear them and then like load your bathtub up with a hot soak and then
And
sit in it,
yeah.
wearing it, right? But then I don't have my bathtub's out of commission right now because we have a leak, so I gotta wait.
Well,
So I-
Go to the swimming pool, bro.
And this is great because at 40, this is his biggest concern.
You know what I'm saying? So, but it's like thinking about like, yeah, that and all these sneakers that I have. So I still wear the sneakers, but maybe I'll sell some sneakers and get some boots.
Yeah, you should.
You know, because Sim's always been a boot guy. So now I'm like, you know,
Wolverine 1,000 Mile, man. Those are the best boots I've ever
I'm,
bought.
I'm thinking about the
And
Alden.
to be fair, the Wolverine
Indies.
boots, they're good quality, but they're not super duper expensive. I mean, compared to shoes that you can buy, they're not like super duper expensive, but they're quality. Like, you'll be worth every penny you
I
pay
actually
on them.
have a pair. I have some Wolverines from work, but like the steel job. But like because the company's, I think in Michigan, right? So I really, I have some. ethical dilemmas
With Michigan,
with purchasing goods manufactured there.
University of Michigan. Did you feel your fan after getting a little older? Did you feel that you became less a fan of Ohio State?
Hell no.
No, bro.
Oh,
He
alright.
thinks he's so much of a fan. He thinks the M stands for mushrik.
I mean, they're like, nah, bro, it's crazy. Like, I've already football season's coming up too.
What if
so-
a brother converted to Islam on your hands? But he actually, I'm not going to ask this
But
question.
his name was
bro.
Michigan.
No. I'm not even going to say this because I don't want her to say accidentally something blasphemous accidentally.
He changes up the shahada on him.
I'm not. I ain't saying nothing because I don't want him to say anything
Well, I
blasphemous.
don't know Ohio State.
Astaghfirullah. So check this out, guys. What's the shift? There's another.
Well, so what do you mean? The shift in topics?
Yeah, because I think we talked.
Yeah,
about
yeah,
it for a
we
long time.
we talked about.
I think I think Ali talks about Ali's mentioning monkeypox is the easiest disease not to catch.
Monkeypox is easy. Just don't be a sodomite.
No, I think it's transferable through skin too. Though. Skin
Yeah,
touch.
but don't be. But 97% of cases are the sodomites.
So
The
let's
common rule.
set this up right now.
homosexual men, right?
And
active homosexual.
So
men,
lesbians are in the clear. So y'all good, right?
pretty much. I
Okay.
think.
I don't think anyone's in the clear, but let's.
let's
This is a
backtrack
public
a
health crisis. Let's try to be serious about it. we can't give out false information.
Well, it's really a crisis for the common huruf. I mean, it's not really a crisis for me, bro.
You
No,
never know.
no. I mean, it does affect the public, right? Now,
Of course,
yes,
but I'm
of
thinking
course.
it's like, look, AIDS affects the public too, bro. I'm not really
But
worried about AIDS.
The dilemma is:
You know?
is it as solid as far as it being contagious? The way people were confused about COVID in the
Yeah.
beginning, is monkeypox solid? Like they know exactly how, or there's
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
still
No,
evolving.
monkeypox has been around, right? This
Yeah.
is not the first time
Yeah.
it's been. Yeah. So monkeypox is generally, and to be fair, to Tim's point, yeah. Let's say there's one of those whole transformer army, and they have it, and let's say you just can't, you have to be like in contact with them, touching. Like, in certain lesions and areas where they have them, like broken skin and things like that, you can potentially get it that way, right? There are ways to get it by rubbing close to somebody or sharing something like that. That's definitely transmissible. But again, from what I've read on it is that the likelihood of transmission is very close and intimate contact. Like that's just the way it generally spreads.
So is it this is a real question, okay, from somebody who knows nothing about the medical industry. So is it? Let's just talk about when the reports came out that it was I saw it on CNN, I saw it on all these different where they had to say it really nicely that the LGBT community, please be extra careful, right? So when somebody has monkeypox and they're touching somebody else, doesn't the person know by looking at them that they have monkeypox?
So it's a virus, right? And some people, viruses can be dormant and they can be, active, right? It depends on how you manifest the virus. Some people are more like they have more a reaction to it, and viruses are such in a way like this that become dormant in your nervous system too, right? They're kind of there and they just they remain in remission through vaccines through treatment. I'm sorry, but generally speaking, one who has lesions or like ulcers that are on the skin or things like that, it's more noticeable. Yeah, I mean you don't want to be touching any open, but the best obviously through transmission, if you're shedding through viral shedding, you can be more contagious, whether it be touch or bodily fluids or sweat, saliva. Like it can be more transmissible in that period of the virus's life.
So it's not
and
going to be,
cycle.
and this is a real question, it's not going to be if somebody had monkeypox sneezes or touches your cloth and you touch that cloth or a hard surface, can you still get it or no? Do you know?
I mean, there's always a possibility, but from what I understand, that usually has to enter like through some lesion or some maybe it's cut skin, micro cuts, micro tears, you don't know, but yeah, I mean it's a possibility. You can't say you're completely safe, but I mean again, like close physical contact is the number one method of transmission.
And so, just so that we're not dancing on the subject, this monkeypox disease is primarily prevalent among the LGBTQ community, and now it's become something where you can't talk necessarily about that, even though people who are in the news they're saying that it is associated with the LGBT, but by saying or calling it a disease that has spread among their community, or at least not bringing awareness around that, just seems like
It's
problematic. Well,
disingenuous.
because I mean, think about like when the HIV epidemic started. It spread among the LGBT community first, and then it later.
And actually, even in fact, even beyond the LGBT community, it spread among promiscuous people, right?
Right.
So people who are doing immoral acts, it spread among them. So people, the idea was that, and what was the number one thing about AIDS? If you don't want to get it, the safest alternative is abstinence, right? That was just the reality.
Yep.
So don't be a hoe, right? I mean, it's just the reality, right? And so
Don't be a garden tool.
the same exactly. But I think what to Sim's point though, I think the bigger point here is that it goes to show you how hypocritical some of these people are, because they beat the drums of science when it comes to climate change and all these things, and COVID mask and data, and how dare you. And now the data is suggesting that 97% is in that certain community, and yet now the data is racist now. The data is prejudiced now, right? The data is being biased. This is the problem.
It goes beyond that, Mort. It goes to that the fact that they're holding LGBT festivals in California,
and they're encouraging them to continue
while this disease is spreading among their community. So what does that tell you about how much? Remember how they were all crazy about public gatherings during the COVID and everything? The hypocrisy about that. How are you allowing these gatherings to happen across San Francisco and other areas where these people are gathering and having close skin-to-skin contact? Have you ever seen those parades, by the way?
They're raunchy and they're disgusting.
They're promiscuous. They're rubbing each other really hard.
They do like grinding acts on flotillas, and
Of course, it's a perversion.
I mean, it's the most degenerative thing you can see. And this ties into so many things, but what Sim is mentioning is 100% spot on. That the sudden shift in the healthcare policy and advisories from the CDC, from COVID to monkeypox, is so radical that you can only think that this is only because they're trying to cater to a specific audience, or they're trying to make the group that's mainly responsible, they're trying to accommodate them. I'll give you another example. They called it monkeypox, right? We all know it's monkeypox. Apparently now they want to change the meaning of the name, because in New York City, because monkey seems to be a racist term. So
that's some internal racism of a person who said that.
Yeah, if you think,
It's just an animal, bro.
That was exactly
you had to
my
think
thought.
like that.
If you think that monkey means something racist because it describing someone or some group of people, there's a problem in your head, not my head. When I think monkey, I think,
Yeah.
That's what I think, right?
Curious George.
Yeah, exactly.
George,
Yeah.
Are diseases like this given to populations from a religious perspective, right? From our belief system, do we look at these diseases and ask, well, has Allah brought his wrath among the LGBT population?
So let me tell you this. This is what I thought, right? Now, first of all, I think let's add a disclaimer here, right? Nobody knows, right? When we're in such a state now that we don't know whether something is a ni'mah or it's a punishment or it's just qadar. We don't know, right? We got to the point in society.
But specifically because monkeypox it can be spread outside.
Right.
It could be spread among heterosexual people too.
Correct. So what I did find, though, ironic, though, is that recently they have been testing this treatment for HIV, which has been largely successful. Meaning that you can completely cure yourself in a few, like 3 or 4 patients so far in the preliminary studies, they have completely cured themselves of HIV with this new drug they're using, right? And it just dawned on me that perhaps, Allahu Alam, but maybe Allah is giving them another thing that they have to now tackle. Because for a long time, HIV was something to be deathly afraid of. Really concerned if you're going to be promiscuous, even not just forget about being gay and lesbian, but even just being a heterosexual person who wants to engage in, a bunch of affairs, right? It was something you have to genuinely consider and say,
leads to lots of sicknesses.
right. I mean, you could possibly potentially get these things, right? And the diagnosis time was a long time. You have to get numerous tests over 6 months. You have to find out it can progress. So this could be something else that Allah is now sending on the people, because we know that Allah can send disease and famine as adab. Right, we know it's happened in the past, and it's ironic that it happens. It's spreading in places in the country, in this country, where you have the highest concentration of these degenerate people.
Openly, yeah.
We know at least, Sheikh, you can maybe elaborate on this, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does send diseases, whether you're gay or not,
Yeah.
among promiscuous people.
Yes.
Whether you're straight or gay, diseases will come when promiscuity and lewdness spread among the land.
Yeah.
Right?
No, of course. And I have something a very specific hadith for us, inshallah. But the thing about 2 days ago, and Mrs. mentioned to me, she was reading the news and she said that there's a small polio outbreak in New York. And I was like, how many? I looked up. I was like, it's in the hundreds now. Right. And then I was thinking about the monkey pox thing. You mentioned this, like, I think like 2 weeks ago. And then I was thinking about like HIV and AIDS and then coronavirus and, obviously COVID and all that. And the first thing we have to see is when we look into the history of all of these, they were either started by lewdness, which was AIDS, or certain types of corruption, which was COVID, right? Yes, we all have to deal with what COVID brought us. And then monkeypox and where it's spreading, and now polio. There's all these different diseases, right? So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the Quran says, ظَهَرَ الْفَسَادُ فِي الْبَرِّ وَالْبَحْرِ, that it's now become apparent on the land and sea. ظهر الفساد في البر والبحر بما كسبت أيدي الناس, of what man's hands have committed. ليذيقهم بعض الذي عملوا, so that Allah gives them a taste, a taste of a portion of what they've done.
Suit of the room, right?
Yeah, from their actions.
Yeah.
So the fitna, but what fitna is he referring to, right? So Rasulullah has this beautiful conversation with the Muhajirun. I brought this hadith up. It's in Sunan Ibn Majah, an authentic hadith where Abdullah ibn Umar radiallahu anh said that Muhammad sallallahu turned to us and said, O Muhajirun, there's 5 things with which you will be tested, and I seek refuge with Allah lest you live to see them. Meaning that I'm going to tell you about 5 things, and I hope you never have to deal with them, but don't be surprised if you deal with these things, right? And he said, immorality never appears among a people to such an extent that they commit it openly, but plagues and diseases that were never known among the predecessors will spread among them, right? And he's talking about lewdness, right? So the direct correlation in this hadith of lewdness in plagues is direct, right? Now, the things that I'm mentioning, someone can say, well, does that mean we're all responsible? No, there's collective responsibility in certain things. And then the individual between you and Allah and Yawm al-Qiyamah, that's different. So Aisha radiallahu anha, I'll come back to the hadith. She asked Rasulullah, what about those people who are taken by adhab, but they're believers? Then Rasulullah said, they'll be, meaning if they're engulfed in that adhab, which means there's a possibility, they'll just be resurrected on their iman, right? But we have to do a part there too about raising awareness, right? But of course, there will be people who believe, which when Allah's adhab comes, they get engulfed in it. And we accept them as the hadith mentions there as shuhada. Those people who were struck by COVID, if it was an adhab from Allah, Allah give them the death of a shaheed. And this can be a rahmah for them, right? Yeah, it can be a rahmah. Yeah. The second thing is that they do not cheat in weights and measures, meaning in buying and selling, but they will be stricken with famine. Severe calamity and oppression of their rulers. They do not withhold the zakah of their wealth, but rain will be withheld from them, the sky, and were it not to be for the animals, no rain would fall on them. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when he's being disobeyed by the best of his creation, which are human beings, now Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala forgets them and now is concerned about the animals and the rain. That's why rain will come little by little.
Yeah.
But the rain that's deprived, the human beings won't be able to benefit from them, or even if it falls. They do not break their covenant with Allah and His Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam, but Allah will enable their enemies to overpower them and take some of what is in their hands, unless their leaders rule according to the book of Allah and seek all good from Allah, which Allah has revealed. Allah will cause them to fight one another.
SubhanAllah, see?
These 5 things. So the correlation of plagues and lewdness is direct in this hadith, right? The correlation of leaving the commands of Allah and infighting amongst Muslims. So one other thing that we have to observe is that Allah doesn't hold this scale to non-Muslims. So the punishment of Muslims because their belief in Allah can be doubled in this dunya and in the akhirah because they know about Allah and they know the expectations. The non-Muslim actually doesn't really have the same feeling of Allah that we do, right? So, but the plagues,
And
if
the
they
famine.
hit the most in the famine, of course. I mean, everything that's mentioned is hadith is everything in the world right now.
It's happening right now. The Colorado
now.
River's drying up.
Exactly.
There's water shortage.
Glacier. People are talking about the past 5 years, glaciers, specials drying up, but look, there is a direct correlation between plagues and lewdness, right? One thing that we can't intervene, which is Allah's decision, is if somebody dies in that process, were they punished by Allah? Let's say a believer has nothing to do with any of that, but he gets monkeypox and he dies, God forbid.
Yeah.
Right? He didn't commit any haram in that sense. He wasn't a part of the LGBT community. He just happened to be in the wrong place at the wrong time, which to Allah, that was Allah's permission and Allah's command. Right? They're going to be resurrected on their iman.
Yeah.
But the dilemma here is that when these widespread things, lewdness and homosexuality and just being, whether it's heterosexual or homosexual, if there's lewdness, the good part of the community gets engulfed in that also. Right? So we think of it as a type of pollution. Right? The people who are directly involved and the people who are not involved directly, right? Which is why it's considered chaos, right? And it's a time of chaos. So we don't know where this monkeypox thing is going to take us. We don't know. We didn't know in the beginning when AIDS, I still remember like from Straight Outta Compton, right? When Eazy-E, he got AIDS. And he's like, what? I got AIDS? I ain't gay. Right? And that's when they realized that it's not just homosexuals that have it anymore. It's everybody who's who has, yeah. So, I think it reading this hadith and understanding this hadith actually gives us perspective.
Not just that, but man, it just ties back to what we started off the show with. You know how in the seerah from AAA that we learned that there's a izzah to being Muslim, and there's the responsibilities that come along with that izzah.
Yeah.
You know that you implore people to rule by what Allah has revealed. That you become a shepherd. That you approach the non-Muslims as an ambassador, not as someone who's a partner in their fahisha. And
That's
who's,
very important. Not a partner, but an ambassador. You're right.
You know, so this is our mentality and how screwy our leadership in the West has gotten it backwards. That they feel like they need to share the stage with these degenerates who are coming to our platforms and trying to tell us what we should do in order to build coalitions and alliances and fight against whoever their political rival is, right?
It's
And
automatically showing weakness. You're
this is that AAA was that we like about from what we saw in that seerah or listened to in that seerah series is what we're trying to talk to you about. That hey, this is when you're living in the West, you're not here to live off the same luxuries that they are. You have a set of responsibilities. You're not here to be, locking arms with them, but rather to lead them and show them, hey, this is what we have. We're not here to, bond over what we have in common. That's fine. I mean, that's great. There's some commonality or overlap that we have in our beliefs, but we're here to.
It doesn't end there. Yeah.
We're showing you an alternative way because your way isn't working. It's failing.
Yeah.
Everything is dying. There's going to be massive food shortages soon. And guys, we need to have a podcast about saving up and doing some prepping.
I was thinking about that yesterday.
Their water is running out. The most intelligent people in society, the most richest people in society right now are preparing for this. And they've bought up farmlands and areas where they think that will have the largest amount of fresh water available to them. The Great Salt Lake is 2/3 dry in Utah.
Really?
2/3 of it is gone. The Great
SubhanAllah, I didn't know that.
if the Great Salt Lake is dried up, the migration of birds that happen from north to south will completely be disrupted. Like they won't be able to. That's where they stop over on their migration to the south. To refuel and feed and stuff like that. All of that will be gone.
That's great.
They're gonna have to build a trench all the way from a pipeline all the way from the Great Salt Lake to the ocean to refill it. That's how bad it is.
I didn't know that.
Insane.
Another reason that Chicago Sharif is a noble land, we have abundance of fresh water.
We're going to be prime real estate properties.
I mean, we could just literally dig a well out. We're literally like just 10 feet from here, down on the ground, we'd have water.
Is it really like that?
Yeah, we have water tables under the Midwest. That's what's the great thing about Midwest is.
I didn't know that.
Dude, you know this house has well water, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so how do you think that happens? We dig in the ground.
Yeah. So,
Oh, but quick question for you about monkeypox. If you're a physician and you have a patient has monkeypox, or you're a Muslim, is it permissible to help that patient, or should you let them wither
No,
away?
of course, if they're sick, you have to help them. Yeah.
But
No, Allah didn't say anybody who comes with monkeypox or AIDS do not heal them. Allah didn't say that.
No, but it could be a non-sodomite person. It could be just.
No,
be a-
even if it's a sodomite person, they're a
That's
human being
debatable.
that's sick.
That's
You still have to
debatable.
help
That's
them.
is it debatable?
Yeah, bro. You don't ask somebody.
What if
maybe
you know
you
for
can-
They're sick.
sure?
You help
Wait,
them.
maybe you can delay the healing a little bit, right? To more punishment.
No, bro.
you know,
There's no.
So let's say,
Anybody who's sick, bro, you have to help them, bro.
no matter, even if they got it like through like illegitimate means.
Yeah, but number one, you don't know exactly how they got it.
I mean, what if? Come on, what if they come in like hot flaming Cheetos? You know what I'm saying?
No, but realistically, no.
Wait, hold on. Dude, I've never heard somebody describe the hot flaming Cheetos. Can you elaborate what that means? I really want to know
Flamer,
where
bro.
the connection is.
Yeah.
No,
Flamer.
I want to know the connection.
Yeah, but you know what a flamer is?
Kind of.
A flamer means a flamboyant transformer. Like a transformer, like, very flamboyant. Like,
Huh, what is a woman?
yeah. But I mean, no, but here's the thing though. You have to understand something. Sometimes when the adab of Allah comes, the person realizes while they're going through adab, and that makes them reflect. So they can see.
That's a great point.
So if you're a doctor, you should have the Quran playing when you're doing the procedure, preferably about the ayah. So it's a little.
No, but come back to serious. No, Mort brought up a great point.
Okay.
Because sometimes, look, sometimes you go through hardship and you start reflecting on the things that you did wrong.
Yep.
That's obviously a sign from that's communication from Allah, right? A lot of times people.
So if you
confuse
don't do that, that means you have nifaq.
No, it means that you're not. It means you're not thinking of Allah when
Okay.
He's supposed to. Be
Mahir
thought
in a
about.
takfiri mood tonight, bro. Today.
Look, when Allah says, "Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu taqullaha haqqa tuqati," be conscious and fear Allah the way He's supposed to be feared in, right? Allah gives us all these things to think about Him, right? But the confusion that happens is some people, they get sick and they're fully convinced that this is adab from Allah. That's not what that's there for. The sickness is there when you reflect is just to come back to Allah. That's all it is, right?
It's an ayah, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
right.
it's
It's a
what
sign of
happened-
Allah.
Yeah, and sometimes even the believers tested with this, right?
Of course.
In order to draw closer to Allah Subhanahu wa Taala, you could think someone gets monkeypox and he's not a sodomite, he's not a lewd person, but Allah tests him with this, and it draws him closer
I
to Allah
know what
Subhanahu
you
wa
did
Taala.
there. He's not a loot person. Smart guy. Anyways, Maheen, what's going on with you, bro? How's
He's bored,
jiu-jitsu,
bro.
man? How's jiu-jitsu, bro?
Jiu-jitsu. I mean, monkey. I didn't read anything on monkeypox, so I was like,
No, that's
yo,
why I asked you about jiu-jitsu. I like your shirt. That's what I was asking.
oh, it's going. I'm still stuck on 2 stripes. I need to get my mom to get here so he can like train me better.
Yo, I got a question though. So what's up with your phone, bro? Like, what's up with that case?
I just dropped. I
you
think
chewing
I
on it or
dropped
something?
it on water or something. That's what
Oh,
happened.
it's like so deformed. I'm like, bro, I feel like buying you a case, bro.
It's like it's got a tumor.
It's got
Short,
monkey
short of the
pox.
camera.
My phone has breast cancer. See, it's
2
on the
lumps
top
on the
part,
side, bro.
right? It's on the
It needs a
top, right?
mastectomy,
Just say
bro.
monkeypox, bro.
See that little thing? Yeah.
No, but anyways, that's cool. Though. Yeah, I mean, I plan. I have a little vacation
Are you
coming
gonna
up.
join? Yeah.
Yeah, when I come back-
he's like So I told him because Humal's been talking that he's gonna get all 3 of you guys to join.
No,
And
I-
I was like, don't hold your breath, all right? Sim's got some back excuse. Sheikh Amar's got some
No,
goggle
no, 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 no.
excuse. More will probably join though.
Yeah. I think I have a little vacation coming up. And after that, I'm gonna be hitting up the All-Star one.
Right.
I'm a bit worried about the monkeypox too.
Yeah.
I mean, there's the
do you guys
grappling
think-
involved and
Gra-
close
No,
contact.
what do you
I'm
think
gonna-
about the spread and how careful
No,
people
I'm
are
gonna
right now?
make it.
If honestly, I would be really concerned even if I was completely healthy, and I'm going to a grappling place where
So I'm gonna make a
grappling
condition
with other
that
men.
I grapple with only Muslims.
It doesn't matter, bro.
Bro, it doesn't. No, so do you have like something online where you can see the rate of monkeypox right now or something? Can you see like remember like Worldometer?
You know,
they used to-
I noticed that. One thing I noticed that Sheikh Amr always needs to like track these most chaotic events. I remember like doing COVID.
It's not
he was
neat.
like,
I want to know
"No,
how
he
far
was-
it's spreading.
Today's COVID is this. Today's COVID is this. I'm like, dude,
Bro, everyone was doing that in the
not
beginning.
me, bro. I don't even give a crap. Listen, I'm staying in my little apartment, bro.
You know,
I'm in lockdown, bro.
I see Sim's concern. If someone's got you like in a triangle lock, and they're like pretty much your like face is like pretty
Well,
much.
what about
That-
herpes?
you're all clothed. You're all wearing
No, but
clothes.
what
You're
about
wearing
herpes?
geese.
Like, what if you got like a little leg lock and
Yeah, right.
No, everyone's
lock
wearing
over
a
it?
gi, bro. It's like it's-
Yeah, but
Yeah,
some of
that's
these
what I'm
cats
saying.
don't. Some of these cats.
I
don't,
want to
like-
know the transmission. I just want to know what.
Or why
rate
don't
it's
you
going
just
right
rub yourself with whole like betadine, like antiseptic, like the
Yeah.
lotion, and so
Yeah,
like so that way you can
smart.
start wrestling. Yeah,
Yeah.
now. Smart.
disinfect when you touch me, baby.
Anything pop up like rate wise?
Well, a lot of the jiu-jitsu subreddits are kind of saying that, oh, well, you're not having sexual contact with them, but I don't think they're very well informed about, because I think it doesn't necessarily have to be sexual contact. It could be
Yeah.
body to body contact. Skin, prolonged skin to skin contact can also transmit the virus.
Do you think long enough, if they relate it back to the LGBT community, that it's not gonna share the same roar they have right now? The LGBT
No,
Oh no,
community?
without a doubt, it is. It
It's gonna
started with
affect
the LGBT community. Now the
But
fact
it
is,
grows beyond that. If it's transmissible,
Wait, did the monkeypox start in the community?
Yeah.
for sure.
no, I mean I don't know if it started in it,
No,
but
this recent emergence.
what I'm saying is,
yes,
it's certainly spread-
98% or 97%.
Yeah, yeah. The concentration of spread was among them. But the reason why people aren't so panicked is because we have very good antiviral treatment for monkeypox. We have, we have vaccines already for this that are tested. You can, if you're really worried about it, get the vaccine. It's like a chickenpox vaccine. You get it, you'll be fine, right? If you're really, really worried about getting monkeypox, if you happen to be in the company of sodomites or whatever, and you just get maybe something at work as a sodomite, maybe he's a little flaky on the wrist and you think he might have it, you just go and get your vaccine, bro. I mean, but it's with COVID, the reason why it was so scary was because no one knew how to deal with it. Like nobody really.
But I think we also don't know how you got it. The
Guys,
symptoms are
there's a website called Monkeypox Meter. This is hilarious. Actually, I shouldn't be laughing. I mean, never mind.
Bro, look at this guy. Look at the iman of Sheikh Amr. He's
28,777
He's
total
excited at the
monkeypox
adab of
cases.
Allah. Look at the iman of Sheikh Amr
Dude, 28,777.
in the world.
Yeah, in the world.
Yeah, that's not a big
It's
deal.
total 6 deaths, 45 suspected monkeypox
Yeah, more people die
cases.
from car crashes than that.
But
From 93
monkeypox does
countries.
evolve into smallpox, right? Or
It's-
eventually, it's like
So
a
it's in the same family. I'm not sure if it evolved, but I know, for example, how if you get chicken pox younger, you're more susceptible to shingles, right?
yeah.
So there might be some correlation.
Yeah.
Because it does remain dormant in your nervous system, in your spinal area. It does remain dormant when it goes into
We may
recession.
need to bring our infectious disease expert,
We
my
should.
cousin.
Your
Dr.
cousin, Arthur, yeah,
Dr.
Akbar, yeah.
7,500 in the United States cases.
Yeah, that's not a big deal, dude. And you know what's kind of cool? I was thinking of. I mean, if 97% of them are, the
Homosexual.
wristbenders,
I've
so
been by
if they are, I mean, think about it. 7,500 out of 360 million people.
Yeah.
It shows you how small that population, how overrepresented they are in the media and everything about this stuff. All right,
Illinois is
dude,
in
you're a
top five.
minute more people. I think we have more people that die from drunk driving than the total population of.
But look at this, dude. Look at the states. New York's number 1, California number 2, Florida number 3, Texas number 4, Illinois number 5, and then Georgia number
Yeah,
6.
it's all the big places that have large blue degenerate communities.
Where's Ohio on that? Because Columbus has a high population of these kind of Ahl Haruf.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyways.
let's talk about the Alex Jones thing. We're going to wrap it up.
Can I actually just say something? I actually want to talk about something.
Yeah.
So, there's been some people online that are posting stuff about and the reason why I want to bring this up is this: I don't want to talk about the individual, but the idea is there. And the reason why I want to bring this up is because my brother, who's totally, devoid of social media. Like everyone here knows my brother. He doesn't, he's not on, he's not available. But he showed me it. And there was a particular individual that was foaming at the mouth at the AMJA convention council because it's all men, right? All men, and this guy had a breakdown.
Your brother knew about this.
He showed me when he came to my house for dinner. He showed me the thing. Like, do you see this thing? And I'm like, wow. If he got this, and he's bothering
Don't worry
him,
about it, bro. We
it's
talked
something
about this.
I gotta talk about, right? And
talked
so,
about this a lot, man.
and the thing is, so it's not. I don't really care about the individual because, to be fair, the individual I don't know him. But my problem is the idea, right? This notion that you have to have equal representation of the women and men, especially in religious circles. And I'll tell you the biggest problem. And let me just preface this before people label us misogynist and sexist.
Can I just get a graphic of that so I can show it?
Oh, you want to actually put the graphic up? I don't know if you want to do
Do we
that.
have it soon?
While
I thought
you're
we weren't going to show the guy's name or whatever.
Well, I won't.
Okay, cool.
I'll just black
Yeah,
it
so
out.
go ahead and do
Let me
it.
find
So while he's doing that, let me just preface this. None of us, and this is shocking, we're not against women being scholars and teaching and having their circles of knowledge and getting in, having resources for themselves. But it's never going to be equal with the men, not because you're inferior, but because the sheer number and lifestyle choices that men make versus what women make are entirely different. Priorities are different. There's no doubt that you have an abundance of male scholarship over female scholarship, not because we prevent females from studying. It's just that women choose not to do that. They prioritize other things, which is fine. They have families, they have other things, other obligations. And the other thing that I want to stress is that women traditionally that were very knowledgeable and students of knowledge and sheikhat, when they have this understanding, a lot of them choose not to be publicly displayed.
Exactly.
They don't want to share the
They don't wanna be in
stage
the public
with
eye.
men.
Yeah.
And so they intentionally avoid the spotlight. They don't want to be on a flyer with their hijab showing or whatever. They don't want to be there. They don't want to be on a panel on top of lecturing a bunch of men. They don't feel comfortable
Not just
doing
men,
that.
they just want to lecture the world.
Right. No, and I'm saying it there's a very popular female scholar from back in the days. She intentionally did not come out in public and do stuff. Farhat Hashmi. She actually would do things online for women who are at home, and she would conduct her classes. Very knowledgeable woman, and many women have benefited from her. She didn't see the need to have to jump on an AMJA council platform or other things because it's not her nature. She understands Islam a certain way. I'm not saying you have to do that, but I'm saying majority of women in her position who are of her caliber generally feel the same way. Yeah. They don't feel like they need to get out there and do that. They have their own space where they're recognized in, and they feel comfortable in that because they're within their domain. Yeah. And so this notion that because you don't see exactly 10 males and 10 females is ridiculous. Yeah. It's ridiculous. And the notion that, and then he goes on to further say, once Sim puts it up, you'll see he goes a step further into a radical idea that no masjid should employ another male figure until women are put first, right? And if they need an imam for the masjid, they can pick any regular that comes there and make him the imam, and everything else they should hire women for. Because then he goes, not because he actually believes, no, that's not what it is. No, okay. Not because he, by the way, he goes, majority of scholars say that it's impermissible for women to lead men, but it's not the consensus. Right, that's what he says. But even if you think that's something that holds you back, then just pick a random man who comes to the masjid to be the imam. Everything else women can do, right? And just the thought process in that to say that it's not ijma' that a woman can't lead a group of non-mahram men in prayer is problematic, number one, right? You're speaking from pure ignorance of the emotions. He got so emotionally, invested in this idea of equality that he lost his goddamn marbles, right? He started speaking, it's blatant stupidity. But the point being is, and it's what, okay, let me read this. Do you mind if I read this?
Go ahead.
The following is a picture of AMJA, American Muslim Jurist of North America. It is a collection of Muslim spiritual leaders and some community leaders. It is an important conference that I have benefited from in the past multiple times. Although some women do attend, the number of men to women ratio is glaring. The reason why I bring this post up is that I have a radical idea. All mosques should hire Muslim women first. If you have enough money, hire a man to afterwards. Do not hire women only as admins. Hire them as spiritual leaders, chaplains, sheikhs, ustadas. The majority of scholars, not consensus, state that Muslim women cannot lead Muslim men in prayer. Since that's the primary concern, then delegate one of the 30 men coming to lead the prayer. Virtually every other function of Islamic spiritual leadership a woman can handle efficiently and proficiently. Islam empowered Muslim women throughout history to attain the highest levels of spiritual and worldly achievement. Let's reignite this tradition.
So here's my first thing, okay? You really believe in this? This person's a chaplain. Quit your job and give it to a woman. You really believe this BS? Quit your job and give your job to a Muslim woman chaplain. But he won't, because this is just virtue signaling, which
means... Is
means...
this a dude or is it a girl?
This is a bro. This is a former guest on our show, too.
Oh, I didn't even know that. Oh, wow.
So that's why we hit the...
Sorry, dude. Oh, well.
But anyway, look. This gentleman is basically waving the flag, telling everyone, like, look, I'm a fighter of women. But what happens after the posts like such as this, you grow your following, thousands of women start clicking on, liking and following your page. This is the kind of crap that people do on social media to build following, especially among Muslim leaders and chaplains and people who are wanting to build clout among the
Clout
community.
they call clout chasers.
Clout
It's
chaser.
funny because like some
Clout-
people
hey,
get it.
hey, clout-
Matthew Tijani gets accused of being a clout chaser, but like by actual clout chasers.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Hey, these kind of guys are cloud chasers and skirt chasers too.
Yeah, and I feel like it's. I think what Sim mentioned is spot. It's virtue signaling. This person probably, or people in his position, would not give up their day job for a woman. And bottom line, here's the issue. Here's my other issue with this. These positions should be based on meritocracy, not simply based on your gender.
Yeah.
Right? Like if the person is qualified, be it male or female, we give them that position. And the reality here is that by data, we see that majority of women don't want to enter those spaces. They don't actually want to be there.
Yeah, it's as if you're fighting for something they're not fighting for.
Right. And you're trying to make this an issue that majority of Muslim women just don't seem to be, they may find it to be an issue, but none of them actually want to step up. Majority of them don't want to actually be in that position. For many reasons, not because they're incapable, but maybe family life, maybe the exposure, maybe the inability to handle it, the pressure from it, whatever it may be, right? The close contact you have to have with males and private sessions and things. There are certain things that create boundaries for these women to have to
and
engage.
I'm pretty sure that if a woman, a sheikha, comes to Amja and says, hey, I have this thing, I want to present it, and I'm pretty sure they'll really contemplate it and make sure that they don't have anybody that's done the same thing. If they haven't, they'd be like, okay, go ahead.
I think that they would do the same vetting they would do for every other, even male sheikh that comes.
Actually, Amja has a female who's on their panel recently.
Yeah, they do. They did. They had him about
They just had one recently.
Yeah, but he mentioned that they do attend, but he's complaining about the ratio.
Yes, forget that.
So this is
Don't give these people attention.
No, but
bro.
this
Forget it.
is
It's
the
a
no.
small
Hold on,
group
hold
of
on.
people,
This is
bro.
the problem. I'm not saying he, but he's jumping on this bandwagon that their objective is not actually justice, but what it is they're seeking this faux the pseudo equality.
Yeah.
That if there's no equality in number, that means there's no equality at all,
Bro.
right? And the problem with this is that we as Muslims don't chase equality, we chase equity. Because we recognize there's differences. Allah created us different for a reason. And if we were to ignore those differences, it's actually inequality.
Yeah.
Right?
It's very...
And this is the problem.
Yeah.
So just because you don't see the same number of people that are there, and by the way, this is not to shun the ones that want to have, I respect the sheikhat, whoever they are, if they want to do their sessions and whatever, no problem. But where are they?
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, there are a few we mentioned earlier, but I think the 10 we can count off the top of the head. But
There was, but the thing is, there was a couple a few weeks back. There was a post where Sheikh Yasser Qadhi was at a breakfast in Toronto with he was hosted by Sheikh Abdullah Anik, Mr. I think his name is, and some sister Sheikh Abdullah posted this. He's like, Sheikh Yasser, thanks for coming. It wasn't Sheikh Yasser's post. He comes to town. He has a breakfast. Like imagine we post a picture when Sheikh Yasser came for the burgers. We post it on Facebook. Same thing happens in Toronto. It's a breakfast. Some sister posted, how come there's no women here? Like literally, like
your mahram didn't say so?
You know what I'm saying? Like, because how come there's no women here?
We don't call it Eat with Women?
We're part of the conversation. Like we're being left out of these important conversations. And
we'll play the
is this like-
pancakes to eat. That's the big conversation.
you know what I'm saying?
And then when they get access to spiritual abuse.
Guys,
Listen.
look, this is so like 5 years ago. Who cares about them? These same dudes that are going to be championing for women and having the same quota built. They don't. In 2 years, they'll be in the same bandwagon. Men and women are the same. There's no definition for women and stupid.
I got a
stuff.
question though. So there's a lot of talk on Twitter and social media about like we don't want to platform harmful people. So is this harmful? These kind of positions that are being posted out there, like that.
You can play.
You know what I'm saying? Like how? Like what's harmful? Like this is harmful. If you're putting out an opinion that there's no consensus on women leading men in prayer, that's harmful. Isn't that harmful?
Of course it's harmful.
Like there might be, but that's for the academics at that level. You don't put that on Facebook, right?
Yeah.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
But what he's saying is that there are people who saying that platforms, maybe like ours, they were very lukewarm about our condemnation of people that are bad, even if we don't give them a platform. But even if we do, we kind of overlook a lot of stuff, right? And I think the point is that, to be honest, you're not the judge of harmful.
Yeah, people. It's harmful, subjective, based upon their own.
Who made you the moral judge here?
The arbiter of truth.
Yeah, exactly. Who made you the definitive, the absolute decider of justice? Dude,
First
get
of all,
off my nuts.
so first
dude.
of all, no one's masum, right? Everyone has problems.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So everyone here has sins,
Of course.
and issues, right?
except for Sheikh Hammer.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So
May Allah preserve him.
I mean,
Yeah, I mean-
they're
No,
all
but,
of
I mean, no, but
Can
the same thing can be argued, by the way, though. Like, would they say, like, for example, the critiquers of Sheikh Omar Suleiman would say the same thing, right? Why are they being platformed? Why? This is the argument they make. So all of this is subjective, right? Like, what you see as harm, and is something someone can see as a benefit, right? So the idea is that this is the bottom line. You don't like something, don't watch it.
Yeah.
Tune out. Do something better. You think that the whole podcast is the male-dominated area where brown men are just speaking stuff and you can't tolerate it? Don't listen to our goddamn episode.
and then show outrage about it, and because like some of these episodes, we're not talking about our podcast here, because there's a recent podcast that's out there that people I only know about it because people started throwing fits. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, you look and like in 3 days, the freaking videos got 22,000 views.
Wow.
Right?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I'm like, how did that happen? Outrage.
I hope you throw a fit on this video and make it go 24,000 views.
22,000 views. I was like,
Yeah.
what?
Anyways, man.
Anyways.
Double standards. Alex Jones.
Yo,
Oh,
you want to give a shout out to the dude to come on our show, get those views?
hey, it's
Hey, bro, you know what I did when? Remember our most controversial episode with Noman Ali Khan?
yeah.
I didn't even. There was like a outrage battle happening on Twitter, bro. I didn't even click. I didn't even open up my Twitter. I'm just like, I'm just not gonna watch.
I
it.
was just like you, remember?
No, I did. It didn't faze me a bit.
Yeah,
it didn't faze me a
cool.
bit.
I knew people were going to talk, and people were like, why didn't you push them on that? I'm like, because I didn't care about it. Like, why would I care about it? I mean, maybe just because you want to know about it and you want to get in the gossip, you think you want, I'm worried about the tea? No, thank you. I just want to talk to the guy. I think he's a cool dude. I like his stuff. What does it say?
And look, I thought about it, and I was like, well, why do we even like have to respond? Like, we brought Tarek on the show or something and tried to get that perspective, but.
Yeah.
I was like, this was so stupid. Like this conversation didn't even need to happen. So I went back and I deleted that episode with Tarek. I was just like, no disrespect to him.
I didn't even know that. Wow,
It was just like, why?
Yeah.
Why do they give us a voice or an option to retort back to their criticisms? Do they invite us on the show, on their shows, and on their platforms? And hey, Sim, we want your thoughts on why you invited.
Yeah. No, honestly, anyone out there that has an issue, invite any one of us. You can try to grill me on your show all you want, and I'll tell you, it wouldn't faze me. But at least
would love it.
We're not going to spend our time trying to cater to your feelings. Because we don't care. I just don't care
would
about
love
it,
it.
bro.
Call them your podcast.
If we cared about your feelings, we'd be talking about the most nonsensical stuff on the show.
Yeah.
And that's the bottom line. That is the absolute bottom line.
You talk about
there would be
fairies.
nothing different about this show than what you listen to regularly. And that's one of the reasons why you guys tune in. We have some deep haters of the show who cannot stand us, but they listen to each and every episode and they roll their eyes and they get frustrated, their blood pressure goes up, but they have to watch each and every one.
They
Why?
call us narcissists and they watch every single one.
Yeah, but I mean,
Isn't that right?
You can call me whatever you want, honey. That doesn't bother me at all. All right.
probably good.
All I'm saying is that you need our commentary. Right, that's why you're tuning into it. Something about it gravitates you because you know why? I think it's human nature. You cannot keep listening to echo chambers. If you do, you're not being challenged, and you know that you're lying to yourself. And you want to listen to it because we know there's something different, a perspective, and you have a reason to then rage at something, and you can kind of try to wrestle with it. And so we provide a service, and you can either like it or dislike it, but it's a service. And we share opinions, and we're not going to conform to just your idea of what the world is, and you can't bully us into that either. And this is part of the benefit of being 40 plus years old, is that we don't really care about the little kid's opinion, right? You're new on the block. I've lived life, right? You know what I mean? Like, you can't bully me into feeling some type of way. I'm not emotionally invested in this. So that's what we got to say on that.
Anyway,
Poor Alex Jones got shafted, bro.
Yeah.
Yeah, what'd he do?
He went through
I
the
thought,
ringer.
What do you mean? Yeah.
So for those who don't know, Alex Jones is a conspiracy theorist who built a pretty large following. He's been around since the 90s. I used to listen to him as a kid on what was his first website?
Infowars?
Infowars, right? Yeah.
Oh, before that was something else, but yeah.
Yeah.
Before InfoWars.
So before, like, he's been around from the very beginning of the early stages of the internet. And this guy, he's there's some things that he talks about are truthful, and they're really things that you want to think about related to how there's an organized
beings.
well, not just extraterrestrial beings, but organized efforts by some of the leaders in power, how they have some affiliations with like Satan worship and stuff like that. He actually has video proof of this. Like, he went to this place called Bohemian Grove, and he took a lot of video, and he submitted proof of this. It's not like something that doesn't exist, and it's been like verified, but then there's BS that he kind of puts two and two together,
Yeah.
and starts to form an opinion. And one of those things was the Sandy Hook massacre. The Sandy Hook massacre, for anyone who doesn't know, was basically a bunch of children who got mowed down by a armed gunman. And what he was saying, or was trying to make an allegation, was that this was some kind of concerted effort
False
by
stage.
people who are against gun owners or Second Amendment advocates. They want to tank, or they want to take away your right to own a gun, and it was like a staged killing, or it didn't even
The
happen.
fake victims.
Yeah.
And this was during Obama's administration, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean, look, people with the we know that the Second Amendment, or the First Amendment, or the right to free speech, is always touted among America. And as long as you don't hurt anybody, you don't cause, you don't yell fire in a theater, free speech is generally accepted. As long as you're not causing harm. As much as I feel sympathetic towards those parents in Sandy Hook, I don't understand how Alex Jones's words caused them physical harm.
So what caused them physical harm is a lot of people that lived in their vicinity. Because I didn't get a chance to watch the entire court case. I got to watch that this week, inshallah, while I'm working in the background.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of the parents, they actually became victims because, number one, a lot of people didn't believe them, and they would say, you guys are a disgrace. They would throw rocks or whatever, break their windows and stuff like that you fake Sandy Hook and all that kind of. So they actually had some physical harm done to them because of what Alex Jones said.
Okay.
So the compensation is, a lot of it is because of that too.
About $40 million worth of
It
compensation.
ends up being more than that. I think it's
45 million.
No, I think it reached almost the hundreds altogether, right?
I don't know about that. I think 45 million.
Well, whether it's 45 or 100 million,
yeah.
it's still a lot of money.
Yeah.
And
So the thing is that people were affected by his lies, which is why they actually pushed that over.
But I think what the problem though is that, okay, look, here's the bottom line. Whether you like it or you don't like it, right? But Kyle Rittenhouse was acquitted, right? Right? Can he go on and are they gonna be okay with him now taking millions from New York Times? And
But this was a defamation case that happened.
it's defamation against him, according to him, right? And I'm saying that, what I'm saying is that basically what you're being held accountable for is your speech, right? So I guess that's the question: can you be accountable for the speech that you make?
I think it comes down to harm, right? If other people are harmed by,
So that's part of
what you said, that
accountability,
people
right?
were faking the victims, and your kids were faked as victims, they actually died, and they weren't real victims. That causes obviously a lot of turmoil, right?
I'm kind of on the fence, you know why? Because what if someone says, I get what you're saying. It's a tough issue because, look, I can believe whatever I want to believe. If I believe no one died, if I believe that no one's going to die ever again from this point on, even the guy's buried, no, he didn't die. This is all just,
But what if you take public and you have a platform and you have millions of people following that platform, and there's such cultish people that they go and attack those people who were actual victims, and they go and attack their
where's
house, and they attack
individual
them physically?
accountability?
but why is it your
Yeah, where
accountability?
individual
You didn't direct
accountability?
people to do that, though. For example, there's people who believe that the Holocaust never happened. We of course believe in that, and we know that the Holocaust did in fact happen. But there are crazy people who believe in that and they spout off on it. And according to the First Amendment, the right to free speech, they have the ability to do that. In America, in Europe, it's not the case.
Yeah.
They don't. They don't have that right to make that
now, if
accusation.
Alex Jones says go and attack them and go and build their house, then that's something different. That's an invitation to action, right? But if you continue to listen, because otherwise, imagine this: a majority Christian nation. I say, Jesus didn't die. And they find that offensive. How dare he die for my sins? You know, he didn't die, bro. You know what I mean? Like, and so can they get into harm?
Well, the reason why I'm getting to this is because as people who have a platform, and then there's other Muslims who also have, platforms or even in mosques and stuff. When they clearly give their beliefs and they, as a consequence, someone acts out on those beliefs. Let's just say they say homosexuality is impermissible, right? In Islam. Someone who has mental issues in the community takes those ideas from a specific imam or whatever and goes and attacks a nightclub or, the homosexual community in general. That person has incited, is now liable, for that person's speech. In terms of, like, when you have, you're kind of delving into a very messy situation, especially when you start putting ownership of other people's actions on your end. Especially, Alex Jones didn't say to go and attack those families.
He didn't.
He might have. He not might have. He did, in fact, lie about the Sandy Hook victims and the entire massacre not happening. He did, in fact, lie about that. No sugarcoating that. But he didn't tell them to go attack.
Even though he retracted, even though he retracted it, right? He eventually retracted that because he mentioned that in Joe Rogan's podcast. But the reason why this is something that's of double standards, I believe, is that even though he retracted those statements, and he mentioned that in the court case too, if I'm not mistaken, but the effect that the effect that took place with those families is what made this court case. If I'm not mistaken, I have to watch the entire court case and all the hearings, but I think that's what the dilemma was, which is very problematic. Because again, if you're able, number one, when you're speaking in free speech and you have a media outlet, where is the red line where it's no longer free speech, right? And that wasn't very clearly defined.
Yeah.
Right. And I think that becomes, it becomes very, very problematic now. And now it's a very sticky situation where millions and millions of dollars are involved.
I don't sympathize with him because he made his own bed, and he's crazy. I mean, intelligent people. He has smart friends who've advised him to, hey, get your act together. My only problem is, or fear is, whether they're going to use these kind of court events as precedents in future cases where someone from another community, it doesn't have to be even the Muslim community, it could be any other community that has a different belief about something that the wider population doesn't agree with, but someone from that community does something of harassment or some kind of damage to their property. People end up, people can cause or create a defamation suit among them,
They would have to defamation against Donald Trump.
Look, I think conversation should come down to individual accountability. If someone is not making a call to action, inviting you to do something, then I think there's two different scenarios here. One is someone talking about something and then his follower going and doing something. In this case, the guy talking about it isn't accountable for what the guy does by action, right? Another scenario is if there's a guy speaking and he encourages people to make action and the person listening to him makes action, I believe they're both accountable, right? Like there's both sharing the blame. But you cannot just say that, because everything can then be inspired to say, well, you know what? He understood from your message that he should go out and do something, right? And then that now, because of his understanding, of that person's understanding, now you're liable. It's problematic from a legal level.
Yeah, and I don't know how that had legs in court. It doesn't make any sense to me. What does make sense to me is one of the judges, or the judge of that trial that Alex Jones was part of, was is a social media activist, or social justice activist, part of the whole CRT type crowd,
Yeah.
So it does kind of make sense that, oh well, they're gonna gun it from. Also showed that another truth that, at least when we're going back to things about when we learned when we were 40, very few people show up stood by
In your
Alex
time of
Jones
need. Yeah.
in your time of need. Alex Jones, with all of his influence and all of his followers and making millions and millions of dollars, wasn't able to find a single witness to testify on his behalf.
Oh, really?
No,
No.
No witnesses?
they didn't have anyone.
Oh,
to
I
testify.
gotta watch this for sure now.
So one of the truths you figure out, again, like going back to what I was saying, is that your friendship with most of the people that you think you have or friends with is directly related to your usefulness to them. When you're in your time of need, most people will back away.
Dang.
Let's say a core group of friends who
He
will
had
have your
a
back.
devout cultish following too.
Yeah. So
And they're gonna have excuses. Oh, we can't. They're gonna persecute us. And look how big Alex Jones. If they can come after him, they can kill us. I mean, they will make every kind of excuse they want to. But the fact is that they didn't show up.
yeah.
Dang.
All right, gentlemen.
Oh wait,
That's our
before you
show.
close up,
Yeah.
I'm gonna you owe pancakes.
Someone's saying. And,
Yeah, you keep saying you owe
Oh, by the way,
pancakes.
are we supposed to fast tomorrow?
Inshallah.
Yeah, either today or
10th
tomorrow. You should have done it.
10th of Muharram, yeah.
That's tomorrow. Isn't that a Shia thing?
You know what Muharram is?
No, the Ashura is for the Red Sea parting
Oh,
for
that's right.
for Musa Salam.
I got confused because Islamists in Naperville had an Eid festival today scheduled, and the Shias went nuts.
You know what? Yeah.
The 9th of Muharram is different too.
Do you guys have a moment in your life where you feel like Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala opened up the Red Sea for you, like symbolically, like,
SubhanAllah, wow.
just as a thing, reminder for Ashura that I know I'm putting you guys on the spot because I didn't talk about it before the show or anything, but can you think about a moment where
Parting for you.
yeah, where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala just opened up a way where you had your back up against the wall and you needed some saving and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala came through for you? I think that's something to think
Too
about.
many
at least.
times. Too many times.
Just give us one.
All right.
Give us one.
I was in a foreign country making a business deal, lost $35,000
In one night, you found out, right?
one day,
One day.
within an hour. And
Give us a little bit more detail on that. On like who stole that money from you?
I don't want to get all that.
Okay,
but
okay. You don't
yeah.
wanna
No, but I was in a business
don't know.
transaction. A product was failure to deliver, and so 35,000 in costs went down the drain. And I didn't have much an alternative out. That thunder?
No, there was some car crashed outside.
Not car crash. It,
Nice. But anywho, and then so then that night, that day when it happened, I felt sick to my stomach and I felt like this is over. Like, I don't know how I'm going to get back. A lot of my money is tied up in this. I have expenses. I got to be here for another couple weeks. That's what my ticket is. All the stuff is just like, overburdening. Like, there's no way out here. I lost all this money. And, then it's just, okay, I slept on it. I made dua. I was in sujood, made dua. And I ask Allah to find the way out for me in this, because I have nothing to do. I'm alone in this country. I don't have anyone I know, like no one I can really depend on and ask for any help in this. It's just literally I'm on my own, right? And then that next morning, I went to bed and I woke up, and something just like I had sakina, like everything would be fine. That next day by the evening time, almost the same time this happened to me, I had made a deal that I was working on was off the table, but it somehow came back to me. That time, in that moment, just almost the same time, virtually when I found out that I lost $35,000, and I made over 150 grand
SubhanAllah.
from that. And it was just like from this feeling of like, how I have this feeling. If any of you guys have been punched in the stomach very hard, that feeling where everything is just gone, like
Over.
Yeah, like you just know that like your knees are weak, like it's like it hit your liver and your kidney, everything at the same time, bro. Like, it's just like everything is there, right? You're just stunned, right? That's the kind of feeling I had from going from that feeling to like being able to say, right, and then happiness, right? But that, like, for me, it was such a big deal because you're worried about all these things. How am I gonna get back? How am I gonna get my food? How am I gonna you know, how am I gonna live? I gotta pay this. I had owed more money because weekly for the place I was staying. So how is all this gonna happen, right? The internet was tied in this place. If I leave there, I can't make phone calls. What's gonna happen, right? Like all these things, all this burden came down like a ton of bricks at one time. It wasn't just the money. That's already a crappy feeling, but then all of that gets alleviated within 24 hours.
SubhanAllah.
Yeah.
That's amazing. That's our show, folks. Think about it again. Think about what your blessing or what your, if you have an amazing story for a show that similar to Mort, maybe you could share that in the comment section.
Fast
We'd love
tomorrow.
to hear.
Please fast tomorrow. Yes.
Yeah.
You
Fast
got
tomorrow.
it tomorrow and Tuesday?
So it's preferred to, I don't know how much time we have left, but
Just go ahead and give it a couple minutes.
so there's a brief history of this, right? One thing in Mecca, Rasulullah always used to fast Ashura anyway,
Okay.
right? So a lot of times the hadith isn't explained properly. When he came to the Jews and they were fasting, and they said this is the day that Musa alayhi salam was saved from Pharaoh and the army had drowned. Rasulullah said, "Nahnu ahaqqu," we have more of a right. Another narration says, "Nahnu awla," we have more of a priority over Musa alayhi salam than you do. So he told the believers to fast. So the fasting of Ashura was fard upon the Muslims in Mecca, and when the Ramadan came about, that fasting of Ashura was sunnah and Ramadan became fard. So that's the first thing. The other is that Rasulullah, before he passed away, he said, if I live in the year of his death, he said, if I live one more year, I would fast the day before and the day after, just to be different from the Jews, right?
Mm-hmm.
So some contemporary scholars are of the opinion that since the Jews no longer follow the lunar calendar, you're no longer like the Jews only if you fast on Muharram, the 10th of Muharram. It's very good too, because Muhammad ﷺ said that it's good if you pair it and couple it with either the day after or the day before. But even if you just single out Ashura, it's still an accepted fast. Rasulullah, after the fasting of Ramadan, the best month to fast is in Muharram. Right? And in specific, the best fast after the fasting of Ramadan is the 10th of Muharram. Right? So it's so many favors Allah gives us. First, He gives us Ramadan. And then He gives us the 6 days of Shawwal. So that spirit of Ramadan isn't. And then you have the Arafah, right? And the fasting of Dhul Hijjah. When that finishes, then you have Muharram,
Right.
the new year of the Muslims. So
And then the
these
white
things
days.
and then yes, the white days of fasting, right? So these things are constantly given us not only just a reminder of reflecting back to Ramadan, but of Allah giving us all these days, right? So the best day is obviously the day of Arafah. The best night is Laylatul Qadr. The best fast outside of Ramadan is the day of Ashura.
Sure.
So if you haven't fasted today, try your best to fast tomorrow and try to couple it with the day after. If you can't, it suffices that you do the day of Ashura and do lots of ibadahs on that day, fast and serve people on that day, man.
Make sure you guys like. There's only 25 likes, I think.
Yeah, please like and subscribe if you haven't already. Help us out by supporting Mecca Books. Use the TMM code. The code is it's TMM, and save 10% on any book orders off meccabooks.com. We'll see you all next time. Assalamu alaikum.
Exemplars, here we come.
Assalamu alaikum.